my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in today, because today I'm the bearer of great news. So if you are a Smashbox lover like I am, then you are going to fly through the roof with this news, because Smashbox South Africa is launching an online store, smashbox.co.za, where you will be able to shop all your amazing Smashbox products from anywhere within South Africa. And not only am I telling you this great news, but I come to you with a 15% discount code on any Smashbox products. My code is SHOPCANDY, all in capital letters, and if you use this code, you will automatically get a free trio primer set added to your cart at the end when you check out. But please remember that this is obviously limited quantity, so if you want to get your hands on that, you need to jump fast. Now obviously today is actually a makeup class, and I'm very excited about this video because a lot of you guys have been asking me to teach you how to do a simple eyeshadow technique. With this technique you can basically create any eyeshadow look. So without further ado, let's get going. So before we get into the actual eyeshadow lesson, let's quickly talk about this palette, what it retails for, what you can expect, and all of that good stuff. So this box is actually really beautiful, and if I had to put it in between all my other palettes, I would actually store it like this, where you can see the colors on the side, because sometimes when you're looking for something, you sometimes forget what's in your palette, and this way you can kind of identify what color is in here and then quickly grab it when you see it. The actual palette is absolutely gorgeous. I love that it has this night to day, I can't remember what you call this over here, because I don't think it's holographic, but it is what do you call this again? Anyway, I absolutely love that it's like LA in day and LA in night. I think it's absolutely so cute. The actual palette is also quite heavy. When you open it up, you have a beautiful mirror on the inside where you can clearly see yourself while you're doing your makeup, and the mirror also kind of stays open, it doesn't flap closed again. Inside you obviously have your always on eyeliner, which is in fishnet, and this is like a really black eyeliner that really stays on the eyes. I've tried this before and it's actually really good. And then on the inside you have a beautiful variety of different shades. Now this palette actually has 16 different shades that is really pigmented, obsession with the colors, and with vivid payoff. None of them are mattes and 7 are shimmers. I also love the fact that they kind of grouped some shadows together, so if you are a beginner and you're not sure, you can kind of have an idea of which shadows to use together, but obviously you can mix and match as well. Now if we actually look at the price, it does retail for 1.3, but let me break it down for you. So the actual eyeliner is worth 2.95. We deduct that off the 1.3, you left with 1,005 rand. Now I divided that through 16 shades because that's how many shades are in here, so it works out to 62 rand per shade, which I think is absolutely a great deal. And then obviously you have your bigger pan sizes of the colors that you would use mostly. So I think that this palette is really cute for someone who wants one palette but that can do many different looks with. Okay, without further ado, let's get started with this makeup lesson. And my focus is actually to teach you guys technique today rather than what colors to use and that sort of thing, because if your technique is down, everything else is going to be super different. But before we actually pick up any eyeshadow, the very first step when it comes to applying eyeshadow is the most important one, and that is basically starting with an eyeshadow primer. The one I'm using today is the 24-hour photo finish shadow primer. This one has got a creamy texture, and then when you apply it to the eye, it kind of takes a few seconds to dry. Now the important thing with your eyeshadow base is that it's going to grab onto the pigment of the colors and really make it pop. It's also going to make sure that your eyeshadow don't crease during the day, and it's going to make your eyeshadow last the whole day. So this guy is really important. I'm just going to squeeze out a little bit and take some on my finger, and then I'm just going to tap it all over the lid, and I'm even going to apply some to the lower lash line. You can of course also use a brush for this if you like, but I just like using my fingers. Now that our eyes are prepped and ready, the first eyeshadow step is choosing your transition shade. Now, what is a transition shade, right? So when you're choosing your colors, you kind of want to choose the medium shade of those colors that you plan on using today. I prefer a matte shade because I just feel like it blends easier with any other textures or finishes when you're adding your other colors. If you like shimmers, that's really up to you, but I'm a matte girl. So looking at this palette, we do have a few matte shades. We have our colorful matte shades over here. We've got a reddish brown over here, a sandy brown, a deep chocolate brown, and then more of a gray undertone. Now, any of these colors can be used as your transition, but let me give you an example. So say for instance, I'm going to say that I'm going to choose these colors to work with, this one being my lightest shade and this one being my darkest shade. This one will be my transition shade because it's kind of like the medium color, so it will blend in beautifully with the lighter shade and it will blend in beautifully with the darker shade. But let's say we don't want to use this side of the palette today. We actually just want to stick to these, this being our lighter shade and this one being our darker shade. Then all of a sudden, this one is going to be our transition shade. Does that make sense? So your transition shade will actually change depending on what look you want to do. But remember, even if you chose your transition shade and you feel you want to go darker, you can always add some darker color in the crease later on. But let's get started with the transition. So for today's look, I actually do want to use this as my darkest one and this is my lightest one. So let's get started. With a big fluffy blending brush, I'm going to dip it into this Valet and start really placing that color in the crease area. You kind of want to keep that color there, but use big blending movements to kind of blur it out. So it will take up a big space of the eye, but it won't fill the full area. I'm using like little circular movements and windshield wiper movements with a soft hand just to kind of blend that out. So with this step, you kind of really have to take your time and keep adding a bit more and blend until you are pretty happy with the way it looks before moving on to the next step. Now with the small pencil brush, I'm going to take that same color and apply it to my lower lash line. Don't be afraid to bring the eyeshadow down a bit more to create that nice soft and smoky sort of look. I'm going to take my blending brush and just kind of swoop these two colors together. See how that kind of already looks good? Now with a flat shadow brush, I'm going to pick up the color Vanilla and I'm actually going to use this to highlight my brow bone area. For this you can use a matte or a shimmer. I'm just gonna tap it onto the brow bone area. With a matte color, you can kind of take it all the way in, but I wouldn't suggest doing this with shimmers. Then take your blending brush and kind of just swoop those two colors together and boom. So that is basically only two eyeshadows applied. You can now go ahead and just put an eyeshadow on your lid and blend it together and this look is done. But I want to show you a bit of an extra technique that you could add to this look. So with a flat shadow brush, I'm going to pick up the color called Almond and I'm basically going to pat this on the outer part of the lid area. Always picking up the blending brush, I'm just going to go in the crease again just to make sure that those two colors blend together. And obviously we haven't placed any color on the inner corner of the lid, so for that you can also play around with color, you can play around with shimmers, or you can do a plain matte look. But using my flat shadow brush again, I'm actually going to dip into this color called Rose Bowler and basically also pat that on the inner corner of the lid. Once again, this look can be finished at this point, but I do want to add a bit more darkness to it. So now we're going to pick up our darkest color, and today I'm going to use the color Java. With a tiny pencil brush, I'm going to pick that up and place it on the outer V part of the eye. Now be very careful with your placement. You kind of just want to pat the color on there and then go in with your blending brush and softly smoke it out and blend it until it looks perfect. If you want to, you can also take a small angled eyeshadow brush and also add some of that to your lower lash line, but this time keeping it close to the lashes. I'm just kind of blending those two colors together with my pencil brush. Now just one more blend just to make sure that any harsh lines are gone, and that really completes the simple eyeshadow look. Beautiful, bit of a smoky but natural eyeshadow technique. Can you guys see how easy it is? It's really just about your application and blending. And with this technique, you can kind of create any look. You can stick to your natural eyeshadow looks, or you can even smoke it up a bit like this one. You can even go darker than this. The possibilities are really endless, and I truly hope that you guys learned a lot with this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comment section down below if this was helpful and if you will be shopping online. But until my next video, you guys will stay sweet. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.